you couldn't defend the screen in Madden. You know, if it's so illegal, just do it yourself. I mean,
well,
if every team,
that's what we're doing. But
but you are with Mason Rudolph. I mean, you guys are stringing things together. Look, Whitey, I just think that you guys, when Ben Roethlisberger went out, I think they said anything we get out of this season is fool's gold. It's kind of anything that we get out of this is
so give to us on the
it's just a bonus. Yeah. Like, you think that when Roethlisberger went down, they thought they'd be playing in competitive games?
Absolutely, dude. That's why they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick, which was the best trade, dude. If you look at the NFL,
where do the Steelers end up?
Listen. Whatever NFL teams are aggressive, they win. Okay, look at the Seattle Seahawks. They traded for Clowney. How'd that work out for them last night? Beautifully. Look at the Steelers. They traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's got 5 turnovers, 2 touchdowns. We've won 4 games in a row since we got Minkah Fitzpatrick.
You're playing hypotheticals.
Look at the Houston Texans, dude. They traded for the offensive lineman. I forgot his name.
You're playing hypotheticals, though. You're playing hypotheticals and now trying to transport what another team is doing and then parlay it back into what the Steelers are doing, which is they're not doing shit.
How many games are the Steelers going to win?
They're doing shit, bro.
How many games are the Steelers going to win?
Okay, we're going to make right now, if the season ending, we'd be in the playoffs. And we're going to make the playoffs. You know why?
Right now, if I get a fucking sex change, I'm a woman. I mean, we can do ifs, ands, and buts all day long.
No. I want to hear it. No, let him go. Let me go.
Steelers are going to make the playoffs.
Oh, no, I appreciate passionate fans. I want them to go.
You bet your ass, dude. You think the Colts with Jacoby Brissett are going to make the playoffs over the Steelers?
How can you question Jacoby Brissett and then now question Mason Root? You just said that he needs to be strung up to be able to lead an offense, right?
Dude, I just spent like 5 minutes explaining how elite our defense is. Like,
yes, but you just but when you just questioned the Colts, you mentioned Jacoby Brissett, did you not?
Okay, so the last wild card spot comes down to the Raiders, the Colts, and the Steelers. Okay, which organization do you trust between those 3? The Colts or the Raiders are laughing stock, bro. Come on.
I trust the Steelers out of those 3.
You know what?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Steelers are up. The Steelers are on their way, dude. Like, we have an elite defense. Our defense is.
If you get knocked off by the Raiders, though, or would you be that surprised?
I mean, we're not going to play.
It's just because from the well, I guess I'm just saying if they end up making if they end up making it over you guys, would you be that surprised?
Quite frankly, yeah, dude. Like, who in the beginning of the year thought that the Raiders were going to be in the playoffs?
Well,
Nobody,
I didn't think the Steelers were going to be either.
Yeah, neither did I.
That was my thing. I didn't think the Steelers were going to be bad, but I thought they'd be like a 9-win team and probably just miss the playoffs.
I'd take Derek Carr over Mason just because based off of talent.
I would take Derek Carr off Mason too. What would you do?
Oh,
on
yeah.
that?
I mean, I agree with you there.
You're getting back into the – no. He's saying – I get what you're saying, Whitey. It's about the defense. The defense is why you guys are going to win. I get it.
Dude, our defense is absurd. We're second in the league in forced turnovers. We're third league in sacks. Like, every single play, dude, it's like the quarterback's going to be on duress. We're playing the Browns on Thursday night, whose offensive line is terrible. Like – And we have Minkah Fitzpatrick in the secondary and Joe Hayden, dude. Like, who's not going to believe that Baker Mayfield's not going to throw 3 picks?
Yeah, well, I also think I think there's reason to be a believer too if you're a Steeler fan because the last 2 offenses that you guys went against, in the Rams and the Colts, I mean, those are 2 pretty high octane offenses.
The Rams, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and believe me, like
I'm
surprised. A fantasy football. I'm a Jared Goff owner. I'm a Brandon Cooks owner.
I was too.
It's a kick in the nuts.
I was too. He was my backup quarterback.
Jared Goff is an absolute puppet.
He was good.
He is strung from Sean McVay's hands.
He did. He has really regressed, and I'm really disappointed because
is that your twin?
Took him.
You guys have a resemblance.
Who? Sean McVay and I?
Fuck yeah.
Oh. Well, I didn't even know that.
Tell me wrong.
Well, apparently, I'll take it.
Dude,
the Sean McVay podcast.
Do not sleep on this Steelers defense, dude. Our defense, everyone's talking about the
I don't
Pats,
think
how
I
it's
will,
tough.
but I'm just thinking. I think Sean and I are basically willing to grant you this. You know, the defense has turned around, but it just gets to a point where I wonder what kind of offensive firepower you guys have. You know, I think you'll definitely be a force on
Right.
defense, but
Okay, so I'll give you the rundown on Mason Rudolph. Okay.
all right, hit me.
So Mason Rudolph, extremely talented kid, very talented. I've watched this kid in preseason. I've watched every snap this year, and he has extremely.
You must know more than the coaches.
He's a very he throws a beautiful deep ball, dude. Like I've watched probably 6 or 7 different plays where he hit Deontay Johnson or Juju or James Washington on a beautiful long play. But the problem is with the play calling because it's so conservative. They're not unleashing him, right? They're holding him back. They know he's a rookie, you know, he basically redshirted last year, and this year he's got the starting job.
Who's else?
Yes, 6.6 yards of attempt. I'll give you that. They're not. He's not necessarily stretching the field.
The play calling is trying to really protect him. All right, that's not. Because basically every game, they know that they're competing for the playoffs, so they're not unleashing him. This is what I was saying earlier.
You guys have 3 straight wins, by the way.
No, it's 4.
I think they won this week. They might have updated it. I think they got 4. I think he's right.
All right.
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
4 straight wins.
Miami, Indianapolis, and then the Rams.
Well, whatever.
Radio silence.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, but basically, all right, so the Steelers have lost 4 games this year. You know who they lost to? Okay. The
Seattle,
49ers,
San Fran.
the 49ers, the
Baltimore.
Seahawks, the Ravens, and the Pats.
Which means they're going to lose to the
best two-
Chiefs. They're going to lose you or the
best
Texans.
two
You're never going to
teams
get there.
in both. No,
No,
they
he
lost-
does have a point. He does have a point. They have only lost to great teams. They've lost to the Pats,
Great team.
Seattle,
And every single game,
San Fran.
every single game went to the last play of the game. Okay, against the Ravens, they
I will
lost
give
in
you that.
overtime. The Ravens, they lost in overtime over a bullshit pass interference call that was not pass interference that set up the Ravens into field goal range in OT. They lost to the Seahawks when Roethlisberger got injured, and you can't expect Mason Rudolph to come in and beat Russell Wilson on his first start.
No.
Right? So that's 2, whatever. Then the 49ers won the game on the last drive of the game. So, they were competitive against the best
Okay.
freaking team.
So I'll hear you on that.
So-
Let's get you out of here on this. You got the next 3 games coming up. Pittsburgh at Cleveland, at Cincinnati. Then you got Cleveland at home. What do you like for the? What do you
Dude,
like for
we're
your
three-
record after the
We're
bye?
going 3-0. We're going 3-0 those 3 games. Mark my word. Feel free
Bill's
to.
going to be the first person I text if one of those games get fucked up. Zing! And trust me, listen.
Because I
appreciate-
know Whitey will be there in a cold sweat.
Yeah,
Like
I appreciate your passion, and trust me, I'm not even coming from a negative past point of view because I love sports, all games. You know what I mean? I mean, I like seeing. I mean, they are a good story this year. My point is, when you run into those teams, no matter how good the Pittsburgh defense is, those other high elite teams, their offense outweighs the good defense that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. That's all.
Yeah, I mean the most
Well,
that they've.
I think in certain situations, yeah, the offense overrides a very extremely talented defense. But I mean, dude, I've watched the Browns. Their offense is painful to watch.
Yeah,
dude. They
it
have
is.
Yeah.
playmakers. Their offensive line is so bad. And
But don't do this by taking down other teams to pull the Steelers back in.
Because the Steelers' defensive line is elite, dude. They have Cameron Hayward, we have Bud Dupree, we have T.J. Watt, and the Browns' offensive line is so bad that I don't think Baker's going to have a second to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So I think we're definitely going to beat the Browns both games. And who is the other team we're playing? Another terrible team.
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
yeah.
So you're going Cleveland,
So-
Cincinnati, Cleveland.
Yeah.
You think both Cleveland games are a W? No question.
Anytime there's a orange helmet, there's a fucking W.
Yeah, I do. I mean, if the Browns had a good offensive line, it would be a different story, but they don't have a good offensive line. Their offensive line is terrible, dude. Their offense has been brutal to watch. Like, I know you guys have watched it. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, Baker Mayfield completely regressed this year. Not because of Baker Mayfield, but because his offensive line is trash.
Coach sucks
And, like,
too.
the OBJ thing is, like, a complete sideshow. Just, like, you know,
We
I
saw it
think
with
that's probably
like
his head
Dallas
coach.
so many years. They were so concerned with getting all the offensive pieces together, and then they finally just get an offensive line. And we've got another one ringing through. We appreciate it. What?
Well, I hung up
Oh.
on so.
All right. Well, we appreciate it anyway. White.
B.
I figured you would have known. Whitey's been doing a majority of the program here. We're gonna have to put him on the payroll. But
Yeah,
Whitey,
dude, I want some money for this, bro. Like, what, like, you know, every night.
yeah,
you
and
know,
we'll talk to you later. Whitey, we got another one ringing through. Hi, you're on with Open Season.
Hey, open season.
Mike Schlava.
Yeah, speaking of Sex Palace, this is Mike from Medford.
I got Sean
So I-
Carnell sitting with me. He's the host of the show beforehand. Just wanted to say that before you go.
I've been to a sex palace before, my friend. It's a good time.
I got a couple of points for you that I thought you guys might appreciate. That last caller was high, a little too high on the Steelers, but I do agree with him to a certain extent. If you go back and play back the tape from one of your shows in August, you will hear me tell you when we were going through teams that could compete with the Pats in the AFC. I told you guys not to sleep on the Steelers.
Wow.
I actually saw you had lunch with you 3 weeks ago, and I didn't take it back, but I apologize for that take because at the time they were 1-4 or something. And I mean, lo and
So
behold,
now you'd like to unapologize?
Yeah, you fucking want to
You
run it back?
decided to hold it in till they're good?
What the fuck? You
No,
can't do that.
no, I'm not unapologizing. I'm just saying that, stick with your gut,
Well, you did give me
I-
$50
I-
to the gym that just cashed in too, so I appreciate that. It was good to catch up with you.
I did tell you that subscription or addition from subtraction there, whatever the hell that word is, with the Steelers, and obviously that safety there helped out. Although I watched some of the game this week, and that game-sealing pick wasn't too bad, but that was all Joe Hayden. You guys also brought up
player.
Yeah, he is a good player, but he got the glory on that play. The other thing you guys
Getting a
brought
little
up with the
long in the tooth.
Raiders,
Yep.
yeah, the other, I do believe in John Gruden a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Knock on wood. If
I do too.
you're with me on that.
The commentator or the coach?
Dude, I'm telling you, Derek,
Both.
it's because of Derek Carr. I'm telling you, I think they're making a comeback.
All right, let's hear it, Schlava. What do you like?
I just think that he can coach his scheme, whatever he's doing over there. I think Mayock was a good move, right?
Really?
He has a bucket of picks, and really, who knows it better than him?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be long term, but for the first, while you're spending that money, while you're spending those picks, like, he's not a bad guy to have there. That's really all I have on the Raiders. I only have one take on the Pats.
All right.
And again, to reiterate my prediction that I told you 2 or 3 years ago, Gronk and Edelman would both retire before Brady. I bring that back up this week because of that Edelman fumble. He was absolutely gassed on that play. He was gassed on the play before.
Yeah.
I think he caught a ball for a first down the play before, and you could see it. It was the first time in my life watching the Pats where I could see that he was tired. And that's scary because it's, the end of his rope, and they can't go to him 4 or 5 times in a game in a row anymore. He's just too old. I mean, he's older than me.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's old.
Yeah. It's old.
So
We're old.
hopefully he's got enough diesel fuel left into him to bring us number 7 because we're going to have to lean on him. But, back to my original point there, I still believe that Gronk and Edelman will retire before Brady. And then the last thing, I don't know if you guys want to chime in on that.
Oh, well, we will. What's the last thing?
Kyrie and the Celtics, man.
Fuck him.
So I'm one of those guys, he's on my team. I'll root for him, kept my mouth shut, didn't really say too many negative things about him. So I'm not going to go down that road right now, except to tell you guys that I do think that he is overrated. I thought he was overrated before the Celtics traded for him. I think he's overrated now. And beyond that, I also believe the point guard position is the deepest position in the NBA. So having a good point guard, is overrated. I mean, really, what is the difference from the number 1 ranked point guard in the league to the 15th ranked point guard in the league?
20 points per game.
20 points per game?
Let a more educated person answer.
Educated.
On the NBA. On the NBA.
Jesus, Billy.
All right. I was just saying, no, you're not losing a whole lot, and I do kind of agree. I feel like when I look around, it seems like there's so many teams that have like 6, 7 point. Like if you look at like Orlando, it seems like they have like 1 million point guards over there.
But if you look to the worst of the best, it's a gap.
From the worst to the best, it's definitely a gap. But the NBA, I will say, has definitely become a positionless league where it's really kind of what you're filling in at the 2, 3, 4. And for that right now, I mean, it's been kind of – no, I mean, I agree. I will agree with you, Mike. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between – like when we were talking between like Kyrie and obviously who's the guy who sucks that we sent to Charlotte? Terry Rozier. Obviously, there's obviously there's a difference there, but from another guy to the difference from a Kemba to a Kyrie apparently ain't that far.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to compare Kyrie to Kemba,
well, I mean, I guess who are you saying? Like when you talk about like the difference between. Like you're saying, the difference between him and an X-guard. Like, who are you talking about? You talking about like De'Aaron Fox or like what type of?
Yeah, I mean, you list your top 15 point guards, and really, I think you could take 1 or 15, and I think you could be okay. With that guy leading your charge. I think the other thing about point guards is they always have the ball in their hands, so all their numbers are skewed, every single one of them. But when you compare Kyrie specifically to Kemba,
well, that hurts for Lonzo Ball. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you could make the argument that right now Kemba is better than Kyrie. So if you just go back and look at the history, they're both drafted in 2011.
Oh boy.
Kemba has actually played 100 more games than Kyrie has. Which means he obviously stays healthy. And if you listen to other shows on the radio, they'll tell you most important stat is games played.
I'll agree with that.
I don't know what show said that, so I can't agree.
I agree with that.
No, I totally know. Availability, I'm totally there with you.
Yeah, if you're on the court, numbers going to go up. Yeah, of course.
Kyrie does squeak by, not by much, on field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, and assists, which are obviously 3 big things for a point guard. But again, he squeaks by, and a big part of those numbers for Kyrie is he was, and you can't take this away from him, he was a much better player in the league the first 3 or 4 years, coming out of college than Kemba was.
Oh, certainly. There's no question. It definitely took 3-4 years for Kemba to even get close to the level where Kemba's kind of been building like his whole career. Like last year was his best year ever, and he's kind of been building from like 15 points up to that. It definitely took him some time to get to that like 22-point threshold. So definitely agree with that. But, I think a lot of us talked about kind of the addition by subtract, losing some of the talent, but you're kind of getting, for my money, it's basically you take Kyrie, add him with Isaiah, and divide them in 2, and you basically get a Kemba, I feel. He's like kind of in between the Kyrie and kind of in between Isaiah, right? Like he's less efficient than Kyrie, but he's bigger than Isaiah, can probably score a bit better than Isaiah. So, he's definitely. Last night, did you watch the game last night?
I did not, but quick question.
Did you see how unconscious he was from 3?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I saw the stats. What was you like?
Okay.
7 for 11 or something like
He
that?
ended up hitting 8, but it was just like an unconscious, like off the dribble. But go ahead. What did
So
that?
when you say, when you say split the difference between Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas, you're talking about the 30-point a night, fourth. I think received 4 picks for the MVP, Isaiah Thomas, right?
Yes, but I'm saying kind of like Isaiah, like on the average, right? Like Isaiah, like let's say he's like 22 points or so for his career or whatever, right?
So, I mean, that just goes to my point about from the 1st to the 15th ranked point guard, they all have numbers. I think they're pretty interchangeable.
Yeah.
One last thing about Kyrie.
Yeah, we'll definitely
and
take your
Kemba
Gronk
here.
and Edelman off air too. Go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing about Kyrie's final performance. Can't take that away from him. But if you look at the numbers on where Kyrie was compared to where Kemba was in 2016, that's really when Kemba turned the corner. And, you could argue that you put Kemba on that team instead of Kyrie, and the Cavs still win it.
Would you?
Kyrie was the fifth. Kyrie was the fifth.
Would you argue that?
I could argue that. Kyrie was the 5th or 6th best player on the court, right? You go LeBron, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and then maybe Kyrie or even Love there. So,
Yeah.
Kyrie was – yes, sure. Anyway, Kyrie was being guarded. Kyrie was being guarded by the worst defensive player on the court besides him. He got hot in Game 6 and Game 7.
He did.
I'm just saying I think there's a lot of other players that could do that. And not taking away from Kyrie, he actually put the ball in the bucket, so you can't take that away from him. But I think you could replace that with Kemba or somebody else that year, and there's a fair chance that they would have come through there as well. Let's be honest.
If he was getting guarded by a horrible guard, that team also had an opportunity to adjust. You know what I mean? I think Kyrie is a great player. One thing I don't like about him is obviously a lot of things that people don't like is his attitude, whatever. I mean, you're going to get that when you deal with a superstar. But his injuries also are they're rampant. I mean, within the first few years, it was again and again and again. I mean, availability we talked about earlier. That's why I would take some of those other players, not because of necessarily talent, but because they could just be on the floor more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kyrie's pretty much giving you a Kawhi load management type number there. And, Mike, we definitely appreciate you calling in.
Kyrie is not Kawhi. He's not Kawhi. Does he deserve that same treatment?
He's Uncle Drew.
No, he's not at all. We were kind of crapping on that. We were kind of crapping on the whole load management a little bit earlier. But no, absolutely not. I'd say you have to win the championship, really. The only one who should be able to dictate that load management, I'd say, is Kawhi, really, because he went there, won the championship.
Alone.
I don't think without that, I don't think you can really be able to call that type of deal. But and
I'll leave you guys with this last point.
All right.
And I do understand, so don't blast me for this, that the NCAA championship is not as important as winning the finals. But unlike Kyrie, Kemba was the best player on the championship team.
Oh, God.
I do love college basketball like a son bitch more than pro basketball.
You
so I'll
can't
give you
do
that.
this, though. Well, appreciate you calling in, Mike. Thanks for it. And
take care,
we'll
guys.
take some of your thoughts off air. But why do I keep saying off air? Once you're off is what I meant. But
Thinking out loud.
everybody does this, though. Kemba is a winner. He won in college. How many guys won it? Kevin Pittsnoggle won in college. You can name so many guys that were scrubbed. That's the reason why it's the difference between the NCAA and it's just so absolutely. Did he run through what was a tougher Big East back then too? A tough Big East and play 5 straight of probably the most incredible games. Sure, but he summoned that up against just a format that we can't really bring up you can't bring that up in the NBA.
Not comparable.
It's not comparable, and it's also just kind of saying, what guy do we now look at today and say, well, we got to take this guy seriously because 10 years ago he was a winner in college. You just don't do that. So people have done that for Kemba. I understand he's been on a team where it's been damn hard to win. If you're on Charlotte, there's not a lot of reasons why you would have won.
Yep.
But the fact is he hasn't won at this level, and I think that's why he is a little bit more willing to acquiesce because he understands that maybe his way hasn't been the top way.
And his window's closing.
Absolutely. He's around 29 years old, too, so this is going to be his last, real big superstar kind of performance type deal. He may get the money, but this is the last time he'll probably be the Kemba that we know of. Now, a couple things that we probably should hit on is the Gronk and Edelman thing from Mike.
Gronk's not coming back, dude. I don't think
Gronk's not coming back. I am 100% on that. I think that was a decision in the making from the Gronk family to him to I have my CBD, I have this, that.
That was planned out.
Exactly. Everything that he's ever done, has been done kind of as a family. Even when they would release injuries, it was, Gronk has to, and they never did that for players.
Anybody. The family
not
was like,
named
fuck
Robert
you.
Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, our son's back is broken, so we're going to have something to say. Your trainers think Pliability Boy thinks he can be out there next week? No, he actually has broke the same forearm again. So, yeah, you can't just play. He's not just a crash dummy. But
he's a human.
I think that was a 2-year deal in the making. But his point with Edelman in terms of being able to see that he's a bit more gassed, I see it
a little bit.
And it kind of reminds me almost of like when they started getting the ball too much to James White. Like you could kind of be like, he wasn't as effective at the end. And
how come they go to one game and then not the next for 2?
Edelman is such a gamer that I think he ultimately will squeeze it out this year.
Me too.
But he brings up a huge point because who's the last wide receiver that the Patriots have developed?
Welker,
right? 7th rounder named
he was like
Edelman, right?
Yeah, you had he was very Welker-esque. You saw what happened to Welker. I mean, he got worn.
Yep.
Same position, right? Concussions. He's got a couple too. I can see it. They went to him, went over and over and over.
And I think he is right too. You're not going to be able to go to him 4 or 5 straight times with the game. I think the conditioning, he's a guy who's in insane condition and his footwork is absolutely incredible. But at some point the conditioning, just going full out on every single play, it's got to hit you. And you're right. You can see it that you can't necessarily fire it into Edelman 4 or 5 straight times probably.
They're going to be double covering him anyway.
So Tom Brady better start getting to know the names of some of these wide receivers. He only wants to work with the old boys like old Mo Sanu. But
did you see how many receptions he had? He went to that funnel over and over, and he pulled it off. I'm like, you can't do that 2 weeks in a row.
Well, it's like, have you seen Jacoby Myers? He's been open.
Oh, they actually yelled at him. I think they were like, he's on the video. He's wide open in the end zone.
So it was kind of like the couple of weeks before they grabbed Sanu, they started like passing. It was almost like somebody said to Brady, hey, there's this guy on the team that gets open.
Then we drafted.
Then they get Sanu, and then everything's just forced right back into there. So is this team going to get things right from an offensive line perspective? Are they going to get things right from an offense perspective? They really just haven't chunked along like the Patriots that we know. They haven't been able to put kind of those. You think about the Baltimore game where Baltimore came out in the second half, put together a couple solid drives. The Pats were just kind of standing there with their hands in their pockets.
Paused.
They were not able to do the same.
It was like the AFC Championship game. Whoa, they came out the gate.
And we're seeing a team last year they really balanced between the running game and
hit the memory bank, and I go, we've seen them slow play a fucking game before. And we've seen them meet that team
3 times last year
in the playoffs, and then it's like a completely different game. They readjust better than other teams. And I think you've seen John Harbaugh have that problem in the past. He's just, that worked before, it's going to work again. No, there's like mental assassins sitting there picking apart that video 55,000 times over about team of 25, just boom, boom, boom. You're going to see a different team. However, do I think Lamar Jackson can beat you? Yeah, I think he can.
Yeah.
And I think that's
you want to hear the most BS thing I think I heard out of that Ravens game?
Dog fight game the next time it happens.
You think there's any credence to this where the Pats maybe held something in because they thought they were going to see him a second time around?
No.
Not one chance.
No. Anyone that
Belichick
thinks that,
and Brady are going for an undefeated season.
Thank you.
You're going to. This is a team that's won a game when they were down 28-3 in the Super Bowl. You're not out of any game, and I just think it's absolutely asinine for anybody to sit there and say that they left something in the tank or left something that they're going to use in the AFC Championship game. You just don't play games to do that. So to say that they came out of and what type of Patriots team would that be if we were sitting here saying, oh, they came out, they realized all the adjustments, they just didn't make them. You know, it's like
28-3 game in the Super Bowl, and the other game they need to pay attention to, well, they almost lost, the Seahawks. You think they were playing around? No, you do not do that in the NFL. You do not sit there and go, well, let's lose this one, a game plan for the next. No.
Exactly. So I just think there were things coming out of that game that were so asinine, just talking about coming out of the second half and, oh, they'll save something for the next. I heard so many just, Pats fans, homers.
Honks.
Laying that one home, and I just think that line is absolute crap, especially if you know anything about the Pats, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. I just think it's crazy how you could even say so. But glad that you're on the same page.
Just watch his interviews. He doesn't even want to talk to you, let alone give you any advice.
He wants to absolutely rip you limb from limb.
It does.
So with the MVP talk in the NFL going around, I think there's a couple quarterbacks that you have to consider. I think it's probably Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, and it's probably a quarterback on Houston.
You're close. I think there's 5. You know the other one. You might miss one. The other one's a gimme.
Well, I mean Mahomes.
Yep. Who's the 5th one? There's one that has been secretly crushing his career records all season.
Rogers?
Stafford
Stafford
has been crushing it.
Now it's the broken back. I broke my back. My back is broken.
My neck and my back.
I liked how my favorite part was they said after the game that he said that was a good decision not to play the game where your back, you had pieces that were broken in your back. You decided not to play an NFL game. You think that's a good decision?
He's going after 5 stuff. He played 171 games in a row, something like that. I mean, the kid this year. I looked at his numbers. I only know this because a little selfish thing. I'm a huge fantasy football person. He's my backup quarterback, and I've played him, and he's gotten more points than Mahomes almost every week.
I can remember having Stafford in years past and absolutely love it.
With Megatron?
Especially with Megatron. It's like, all right, you got 3 interceptions, but you threw 3 to Megatron. It's like, let's cancel those out.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, all right.
For sure.
You're going to throw for 1,000,000 yards because you're down.
Always.
I think I think Stafford may have the second most wins from behind, or it's something crazy. But they always talk about
yards.
You have to be down to come back.
It was yards. It wasn't TD to interception because Watson, I believe, has that. Lamar Jackson's right there as well. But everything else, he's just it's 1-1, 4-1. He's just been killing it. This is his best season.
So who do you think ultimately? Because Lord knows the NFL isn't going to give the MVP to a position other than the quarterback, right? Wait, could that even possibly happen in this NFL?
Yeah, maybe a
I mean,
mascot.
Aaron Donald, it's funny. Literally everyone will be he's the best at the position. He's the best at the position. ESPN votes him no. It's that guy's not going to sniff an MVP.
No.
He'll get Defensive Player of the Years every year. But so, I guess I say with the quarterbacks, do you think that Russell Wilson has the firm grip on the MVP right now, or do you think it's in the hands of you think it's in the midst of those 5 guys that you talked about?
I think before it gets to the playoffs, it's a clear landslide for him. I think once you start getting into who's going to get into the wild card and some of that stuff, I think that's when Jackson comes back into the fold. Or I don't think it's going to be Mahomes. He's having a great season. He's awesome. I mean, right? But I think you might. I mean, do they give it to a guy like Stafford that kills all the records with a losing season? I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either.
It's got to be Jackson or it's got to be Russell Wilson. That's what I'm thinking.
I think it almost might be Russell Wilson too, out of that type of career. You know how sometimes it's almost like the career MVP, when there's that year where there's not that, and it's kind of
I'll give it to him.
He hasn't had that MVP year yet. I'm just thinking this is going to be the year where Russell Wilson takes the MVP home. It seems like, to go to fantasy, he's my quarterback, and it's like every week.
I got Tyler Lockett.
Guys score.
Dude.
Well, now what they have, too, is just absolutely unfair. They've got Lockett, and then they've got Metcalf and Gordon. So they've got 3 6'3", like 240-pound guys that can just go. You can huck it up. Because
there's your NFC Championship
Well,
games.
he was throwing to guys like Hollister, like I said. Russell Wilson is not a guy that has relied on the best talent. Like some of the guys you've looked at that he's passed to this year, he hasn't had absolutely incredible talent. He's like a much better Ben Roethlisberger for my money.
He's like Brady in years past.
Extends that play and makes plays with his feet, and then he ends up making those reads and throws guys open. And like I said, he doesn't need – you don't say like, oh – like you can't even think of right now like who his best receiver was like throughout his career. I mean, maybe you get to a Golden Tate or, we think of it. But like, he really hasn't had somebody that's been kind of lights out.
You know what I do like? I was hearing this on the radio the other day. I like how, like we discussed a little bit earlier, that pocket passer didn't work out years ago. Now you have like 3 or 4 young pocket passers that are really fun to watch. And you see in that pocket passer change where it's like, this stuff is a good product. You know what I mean? The ways of by the way, Phillip Rivers, he needs to retire. I'm tired of watching that guy chuck the ball off the side of the fucking, never mind.
Oh, I know. It looks kind of like Tony Romo's last year over there, doesn't it? Just with like...
Go by.
He was always the guy who threw the back-breaking pick, but this year it just seems like he's completely unashamed.
It's like, did you not watch Brett Favre in the Minnesota Vikings game throw it across the body?
3 guys covering him. Hey! So... No, I agree. Phillip Rivers has not looked good. That team as a whole has not looked good with the Melvin Gordon situation. Then you got their owner coming out saying, we're not bleeping going to London. We're staying right here. It's like they just forced him to move. I'm not necessarily sure that that's the guy that's going to be able to convince me that the NFL's not just going to up and move him to the next place. But you like how he came out. He's just like, we're not effing moving anywhere. It's like,
yeah, you are.
That sounds like the guy who was moving to me.
Right?
So
if you're telling me no, that means yes.
So he definitely does need to retire. What was the other thought there? Oh, yes, there are some exciting young quarterbacks in the league, and I feel like a few years ago when your quarterback started to move out of the pocket, you're like, oh, no, we don't want one of those. Mm-hmm. We don't want a Cam Newton, or we don't want a this, that. And now you're starting to look at some of these guys, and you're like, "Wow, look at what these guys can do when they extend the play." Like,
it's exciting.
You look at the throws that Mahomes can make, the throws that Lamar Jackson can make. People are talking about these are throws that nobody else can make. Why is it? It's because of their vision, but it's also because they can contort themselves and get into a position where
athletic ability. Right? Like, they had the number the other night when he played the Pats. When Jackson, it was funny because it was 2 linebackers. I mean, they're at the line of scrimmage. He scrambles to the back left side of the pocket. And you have 2 linebackers off to the left. The only way he can run is to his own end zone, which he's not doing. And he bit their legs to bite. It was like, I was like, man, how did you guys just get caught like that? He's just exciting to play. As a football fan, do I love the Pats? Of course, I always want them to win. But I tell you what, if I can appreciate a good ass whoopper from another team, from some very talented player, that's what you want to see as a sports fan.
Absolutely. And, I mean, they came in with everything that you want. They were able to run the ball. They were just really effective. Like, when you look at the game, Lamar Jackson didn't necessarily throw for 500 yards. He threw for like 160. He ran for like 60. But it was all just fluid. They kept the ball moving. It was like when Mark Ingram got it, He was able to come in and run against this defense.
Side throw.
Some of the side throws, I mean, they're just able to do a lot of different things that some of these quarterbacks that can't move. I mean, you think about, could Tom Brady ever make a throw like one of these cans? Now, he's going to make intelligent reads because of what he's always seen, but these guys are going to be able to make intelligent reads that are so off of what Brady could even envision, and I think that's why it's so exciting. You're like, well, I didn't even think. I just keep coming back to a ball that Mahomes threw where it was that ball where he it was right before the injury where he like ran out to the right. There was a receiver who like went back, kind of like came all the way in. And Mahomes had like been running from the defense and like threw from like the right over to the left, just this like bullet. right into the guy for a touchdown. And it's like, we thought we had the guy for a 20-yard sack. He just threw a 35-yard touchdown to a no-namer. Like,
Yeah, now we're down 6.
so, I mean, it's just incredible. Like, you can't even. I'm like, I didn't even think a guy. Brady.
fun to
Brady
watch.
rolls out that way, and
He's
that's
getting crushed.
He's getting crushed, throwing the ball out of bounds. I mean,
Yep.
you don't even think that there's life left on a play like that.
The other kid from Arizona, too, Kyler Murray, right? He's got a little bit of flashes of that, too, as well.
Yep, absolutely. And the thing about Kyler is he can throw it a lot better than I think anyone wants to give him credit for. He
Right?
came into this league completing 20. I think he's still completed 20 passes in every game. I think it's still extending on to an NFL record. I mean, he's a lot more polished as a passer than I think a lot of us thought. I thought he was kind of an athlete.
He threw work, 3 touchdowns, so I think a rookie this week. Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop, whoop. I was like, that guy crushed me in my game.
And
Thank
they
you.
seem to play pretty close games, too. They don't quite have the personnel. And, my God, has there been any fall further from grace than David Johnson? I mean, they don't even play him
Gone.
this week for Kenyon Drake because they had to keep the momentum going with Kenyon Drake. And that's going to do it for the momentum
Hold
here
on,
for
real
us.
quick. Give me 60 seconds. You can keep playing that.
All right.
I wanted to discuss what were your thoughts on the Diaz fight in the UFC? What did you? I felt like if it went another 2 rounds, he was starting to wear him as the ball.
I didn't watch it.
Oh. Neither did you, did you? You're a butthole. Whatever. Listen, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you. Listen, y'all, we're going to share this on Hawk Carnell Show page too. Start listening to Open Season. This kid's got a good product. Do your thing.
Thank you very much for Brian, for Sean, for me, and an extended edition of Open Season. That's going to do it for us, and we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Love you.